Welcome to the morning show. The volume setting on this is 58 out of 63. Still, I warn you, it's going to be a little loud. You got to get those drums in there. Sorry about that. I wish it would rain down. Now, let me tell you, we got rain in the area here in upstate New York, and it poured overnight. I was up around 3:30. There's a lot of lightning and thunder in the area. And yeah, so I went out on the porch, and watched some of it for a while. And now it's 7:30 in the morning. And of course, Phil's huge hit song from the album, But Seriously. I got a lot of great rain songs. We could do the rain song by Led Zeppelin, Raindrops Keep Falling on Your Head by B.J. Thomas, Laughter in the Rain, Neil Sedaka. I could do a bunch of great rain songs for you, but this is a fantastic thing. Or I could switch it off. Those of you that follow my program, I'm a huge fan of Phil Collins. I'm here at the Two Heart Sunglasses Supermarket, which is basically, named in his honor, obviously, his huge hit song, Two Hearts, from the motion picture Buster. Yeah, but I'm thinking about it. Thunder and Lightning, a great song, I think from his album, Face Value, Thunder and Lightning, to commemorate last night's massive thunderstorms through the upstate area.
But I've been holding back too long. Now the time has come, I'm gonna get it right. Now's the time to show them all what they're wrong. These days thunder, and they say lightning. It will strike twice. Why can't you tell me how come this feels so nice? Feels alright. Feels alright. I never ever did believe in guiding lights. But you didn't how it slipped away. Days I'm feeling deep down in my shoes. Those things look like they're going my way. They say thunder, and they say lightning. It will strike twice. But is that true? Why can't you tell me how come this feels so nice? So nice, it feels alright. But in your crazy game, you got treated right. Boy, I'm not playing the game no more. They say thunder, and they say lightning. It will never strike twice. Why can't you tell me how come this feels so nice? They say thunder, they say lightning. It will never strike twice. But is that true? Why can't you tell me?
feels real good, Phil. Real nice. I thank you for that. Fantastic. Yeah. Now, I was going to do one of my movie talk-ups, you know, where I talk about a movie. Last night I saw The Gambler starring Kenny Rogers from like 1980. I think it was Bruce Boxleitner was in it. He played a guy by the name of Billy Montana. He got taken to the cleaners, folks, by The Gambler. Absolutely. And then, yes, I do that. But not right now. To say the great song by Billy Joel, Big Shot, as featured by the Heartbeat of the Tri-King. You know, a couple of weeks ago, you know, I was listening to, well, it was Monsignor Jim Vaughn and his show Religion and Rock. Very first song out of the gate. Not a Big Shot, but a My Life. And I was like, wow, fastball right out of the gate. Yes, and earlier in the show I said that if the Monsignor came out and he played like a Billy Joel number, like, for example, whatever, New York State of Mind, All for Lena, I was going to jump in. And the first thing from the Monsignor, a Billy Joel tune like that, My Life, that was fantastic. I got very excited about it, just like I do for this great number, especially in the morning. This really gets me going for my job as a cardiac echo tech. I scream out and I give it all up for Lena.
Stood on the tracks, waving her arms, leading me to that third rail shock. Quick as a wink, she changed her mind. She gave me a night, that's all it was. What will it take until I stop kidding myself, wasting my time? Whoa, there's nothing else I can do, 'cause I'm doing it all. I'm living it up for later. There's nothing in it for you, 'cause I'm living it up for later. We laid on the beach, watching the tide. She didn't tell me there were rocks under the waves, right off the shore. Washed up on the sand, barely alive, wishing the undertow would stop. How can a man take any more? Whoa, there's nothing else I can do, 'cause I'm doing it all for later. I don't want anything new, 'cause I'm living it all for later. There's nothing else I do, 'cause I'm giving it all for later. In school, losing my friends, making my family lose their minds. I don't wanna eat, I don't wanna sleep, I only want later one more time. Now I'm in my room, watching the tube, telling myself she still makes love. Over to say she changed her mind. So, wait in the dark, listening for her, instead of my old man saying, stop kidding yourself, wasting your time. Whoa, there's nothing else I can do, 'cause I'm doing it all for later. Don't want anyone new, 'cause
that was Billy Joel. Now, yeah, so I uploaded it, and, the video that included the song, and I was told that that is banned, but only in Russia. Only in Russia. Everywhere else, it's all good, absolutely. Oh, now it's slipping into a pressure. Posted out there by Billy Joel from the album The Nylon Curtain. Again, folks, these things happen here on the program. Now, if I was going to do a pressure, I would do the full version, not like one that was made for radio play, might have been put on one of his greatest hits compilation, and I would definitely do a complete pressure, the one that includes all the lyrics, including the lyrics about baseball. That's right. There's 2 out, 3 men on, bottom of the ninth, Game 7, the World Series. You're at bat and you're under pressure, or you're on the mound. Either way, well, you're under a lot of pressure. Obviously, Billy likes baseball. Mentioned here, mentioned in Zanzibar, perhaps other tunes as well. And I'm just saying now, if I was going to do a pressure, I would want to do the one that's posted out there by Vicky Smith. Let's see, maybe they took hers down. I don't know. There's Billy pressure, Trump's pressure campaign on Mike Pence. Wow, let's listen to a little bit of that. Talk about pressure, huh? How about the pressure that Pence came under when Trump wanted him to basically help him overturn the 2020 election? There was a lot of pressure on Mike Pence. Let's everyone give Mike Pence a round of applause. Mike Pence, saving democracy, keeping America free, and preventing a coup d'etat again, folks. Again, I'm not one that is totally in Pence's camp. Pence, an enabler of Trump for 4 years until the very end, when a bunch of lawyers told him he had no choice but to follow the law. Pence followed the law. Now, everyone, huge round of applause. Now they're doing it for Bill Barr. Yeah, Bill Barr, he came out yesterday. He said, well, the word was BS. Basically bullshit. I can say that word. That's not one of the 7 banned words, according to George Carlin. This show's not even aired out there broadcasting. This is an internet-based radio show. And if Bill Barr, the former attorney general, wants to come out and say that Trump bullshit regarding his false claims, what they've come to call the big lie, then to me, I'm going to talk about it on my show. I'm not going to mince words. I'll say, well, he said this. If Bill Barr, and again, Bill Barr, everyone, let's give Bill Barr another round of applause. And don't forget Raffensperger down there in the state of Georgia. Trump's pressure on Raffensperger, his hour-long phone call, saying, I need you to find the votes for me. Just find one more than the difference between my tally and Biden's tally. I'll be a happy camper. You want your president to be happy, don't you, Mr. Raffensperger? Brad, I need you to do the right thing. Find the votes for me, and if you can't find them, just tell people you redid the math, you recalculated, and you found out that I'm right, that I won. Just tell people that, Brad. You can do that, can't you, Brad? And then Raffensperger, no, sir, I'm afraid we cannot. We've already certified the vote for Biden. We've counted 3 times, twice machine counts, 1 manual hand count. I'm sorry, Mr. Trump, we can't find the votes for you.
Eastern. And this time, investigators are expected to focus on then Vice President Mike Pence and the pressure campaign to get him to keep Joe Biden out of the White House. Committee aides say new evidence presented tomorrow will show how the efforts of his former boss, Donald Trump, led to the riot and put Pence's life in serious danger. You'll remember the surveillance video of security rushing Pence off the Senate floor as rioters chanted, "Hang Mike Pence." And ABC News has obtained new photos of the former vice president and his family in hiding after the mob broke into the Capitol. Tomorrow, we expect to hear from key Pence advisors, his former counsel, Greg Jacob, and retired federal judge Michael Luttig. There are reports the closed-door testimony from Mark Short, Pence's one-time chief of staff, will also be included. Earlier tonight, Short talked about Trump's actions that led to the riot.
I've shared that I think that the president was poorly advised by a lot of the people that were around him at that time. I think ultimately the buck stops with the president. He has responsibility to listen to advice or discard advice.
As the House committee holds these hearings, the investigation continues. The Washington Post reporting on a new revelation about Ginny Thomas. She, of course, is the wife of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. The paper says the panel now has emails between Ginny Thomas herself and lawyer John Eastman, who once clerked for Clarence Thomas and who played a very big part in Trump's plot to stay in power. The committee is also intensifying its focus on Republican Congressman Barry Loudermilk. Let's say his name again. Barry Loudermilk.
Barry Loudermilk. Do not forget Barry. You know, come on. Again, these people, there's so many different characters in the thing. I've been able to follow the characters fairly well. Eastman, he's a Trump enabler, you know, absolutely. He's in the Trump wacky camp, those that don't believe in the rule of law. And, well, he was stopped by other people in the Justice Department. Yeah, they wanted to do the whole thing, you know, the whole Green Bay sweep as planned by Peter Navarro. The pitch out to Pence. Pence runs down the Pence runs down the sidelines into the end zone. Touchdown, Mike Pence. He secures 4 more years for himself as VP and 4 more years for Trump, folks. That's a failed plan done by juveniles, basically people of a juvenile mindset like Peter Navarro and other extreme right-wingers, and of course the failed insurrection on January 6th led by Trump supporters. Clearly, I'm seeing a video right there, people holding up Trump signs. Yeah, they wanted to hang Pence. Yeah, sure. And now Trump, he gave support to that statement, hang Pence. He said, according to Liz Cheney, I don't think Liz Cheney would lie about it. And what she said was that he said that Pence deserved it. I completely disagree with the fact that Pence deserves capital punishment, being either by hanging or by firing squad, as suggested by another right-winger, L. Lynn Wood. Now, if you heard my show yesterday about L. Lynn Wood, flat earther, and doesn't believe in the Apollo moon landing, doesn't believe we ever made it to the moon. It's a wacky guy, and Lynn Wood, an extreme right-winger with a lot of conspiracy tales and a lot of strange beliefs. Like he believes the Chief Justice of the United States, John Roberts, a murderer and a pedophile, and that he has something to do with the death of Justice Antonin Scalia. That's what Lynn Wood said previously, and of course Justice Scalia died of natural causes. The Chief Justice had nothing to do with it whatsoever. But that's the kind of guy you get with Lynn Wood, spouting nonsense, accusations without proof, and that's why he got kicked out of his legal society down there in Georgia. That and other reasons.
You have to learn to pace yourself. Pressure, you're just like everybody else. Pressure, you've only had to run so far, so good. But you will come to a place where the only thing you feel are loaded guns in your face, and you'll have to deal with pressure. You used to call me paranoid, but even you cannot avoid pressure. You turn the tap dance into your crusade. Now here you are with your praise and your Peter Pan advice. You have no scars on your face, and you cannot handle pressure. What do you know? All your life is Channel 13, Sesame Street. What does it mean? I'll tell you what it means. Don't ask for help, you're all alone. have to answer to your own pressure. I'm sure you have some cosmic rationale. But here you are in the night, 2 men out and breathing on the wind. Look, but inside where we all respond to pressure.
Let me think. What does it mean? Pressure.
I'm sure you have some cosmic rationale. Here you are with your faith in your Peter Pan. You have those scars on your face and you cannot handle pressure.
All right, as posted out there by Vicky Smith, Pressure, the full Pressure, and not a shortened version of it. Now, speaking of Billy's lyric there, the only thing you have to fear is a gun in your face. We have Congress and President Biden to thank for, well, passing new common sense gun legislation to deal with gun violence in our nation. And I've talked about that. Folks, I got to get to my job. Talk about pressure, my real job, where I'm a cardiac echo tech. Thank you very much. I'll be back for lunch or after work. From the album Sounds of the 70s, 1979, What a Fool Believes. Now, I'll be talking about the MyPillow guy tonight. Yeah, the MyPillow guy, Mike Lindell. What does he believe? Well, he believed that Trump would be reinstated to power this past August. And then he said, oh, it'll be in the fall for sure. And then he said it would be this year, 2022. Folks, that's not going to happen this year or next. If Trump wants to run again, well, he'll just have to, re-announce, basically. But moving right along, I'll have this story tonight from BusinessInsider.com. They do a fine job. Another MyPillow guy story. I'd be more than happy to do another foolish MyPillow guy story. There have been so many things that he has said, things that cannot be believed. And now the MyPillow guy, Mike Lindell, he wants to know why his request to testify before the select committee was ignored. That's the word they use. He was ignored. Now, why was he ignored? Because he's the MyPillow guy. The answer to me seems obvious as to why. The foolish things he does, the foolish things he says, like predicting Trump will be returned to power and Biden will be kicked out of the White House, things like that. Yeah, foolishness, absolutely. That makes me want to go on a digression to talk about my April Fool show from 2020, where I had a lot of great songs with Fool in the title, including this one by the Doobie Brothers, certainly. Fool on the Hill by the Beatles, Foolin' by Def Leppard, so many of them, absolutely. Yeah, What a Fool Believes. Now, everybody plays the fool sometimes, not all the time, like this guy, the MyPillow guy, Mike Lindell. Not every single day, on and on, the foolish things he says and does. But yeah, everybody plays the fool sometime. There's no exception to the rule. I did that one too. Buy the main ingredient, the fine tune, and others as well. Anyway, I'm on my lunch hour now. Soon we'll have Craig Stevens and Lunchtime with the Oldies on the program for a brief time until I go back to my job. So I'll be talking about the MyPillow guy and why the select committee did not need his testimony. Not only did not want it, but did not need his testimony to prove what they're showing to the American people. Didn't need it at all. have a story about Phil. You guys know of my love for Phil Collins and his tunes. Phil Collins, he said, a drummer out there that underrated, Phil Collins says. Now, which drummer could it possibly be? It's obviously not him. Phil's an amazing drummer. It's someone else. We'll find out who Phil feels. That's a good one. Who Phil feels is an underrated drummer, certainly. And there'll be some songs involved from whatever, probably Phil or Genesis. Naturally, tunes will be a part of tonight's show. I'll have a story about the Beatles. The throwaway Beatles song meant to confuse everybody. Absolutely. Now, it's a great story by Far Out Magazine. They do a lot of great rock and roll stories. I love reading them. Normally, I would sing whichever Beatles song. I don't know, folks. Again, I just picked this song. I've been busy doing my day job as a cardiac sonographer. But again, I'll know tonight, and then I would sing whatever song it was that came out. Absolutely would do it. And however, with the Beatles, there's a problem, because if I want to, and I'm not sure yet, but if I intend to make this a YouTube video, I know with certainty that it will be blocked out. And maybe I'll make a big to-do about that. That whatever song I do with the Beatles, whatever it is, is it Maxwell Silverhammer? Which song was meant to confuse everybody? Again, that's a teaser, and I'm not going to say. All right, so now it's time for a tune. What About Me, the guy says, from Moving Pictures, the band, from the album Music for Cruising Joyride. Yep.
See, I wanna live, but you just
was Moving Pictures. What a great tune that is. Now, I'm busting into the heartbeat of the Tri-County FM radio. Okay, me, I'm going to give a little personal information. And that's nice. A nice thing to do. I tell you a little bit about what I put out there today, certainly. So I went into my friends at John H. Glenn, class of 1981, and I posted my video for Sunday Sunrise to them there. And I'm going to tell you, my fine listener, what exactly it is that I posted there. So I'm going to that now. I'm trying to do it without breaking, without actually stopping the program, pausing the thing, which of course I could do, but I don't feel like going that way. And so I'm not going to go that way. Basically, here it is. Okay. To them, John Glenn High School, class of 81. I gave a brief shout out to John H. Glenn High School, class of 81 in this one. And so for good or ill, I thought I would share this here. Go Glenn! Absolutely. At the 55-minute mark just before the song is over. So now, obviously, if I'm going to go that far with it, I'm going to go to the 55-minute mark and give another shout out to Glenn. I think that's the way to go. And so, yeah, now I'm on to the video, and I'm switching the source. So here we go.
Faith, who pass faith on to us, and to kind of be able to always hold them in that high regard that helps us to also pass on faith to those we meet. Here's the Who. The song is over.
Now, talking about going back 40 years, I was very, very happy and grateful to have had my 40th high school reunion, John H. Glenn High School, Elwood, New York. Yes, class of 1981. Go Glenn! Absolutely. I'm very excited about it. Caught up with a lot of friends from high school and stuff like that. Found out where everyone was going. And it was a wonderful time. I talked about it a great deal on the program at that time. October the 16th of last year. I was very excited about it. And, of course, the Who are once again back. Monsignor, great selection of tunes. Love the Who. So, yeah, crank it up before it actually is over. Yes, I sung my heart out to the wide open spaces. I sung to the infinite sea with the Who. Naturally, I do it again. Anyway, I'll take a break. I'll be right back. You're listening to The Morning Show. Now, the thing of it is, though, I was kind of concerned about posting that thing to my friends at Class of 81 because you don't know how it's going to be received. It's like, what's my agenda for posting it? Obviously, I want people to listen to my show. I don't think there's anything wrong about wanting people to listen to my show. And so I'm just honest about it. So I put it out there. Now, already 4 people have liked it. And some people that I met while I was there at Changing Times. Larfield Road in East Northport, October the 16th. Yeah, some people have liked it. And so it's a good thing. But yeah, obviously that's the clear intent, is for them to open up the YouTube video, go right to the 55-minute mark and hear what I had to say about John Glenn, class of 81. Now, this song is, from like a decade earlier, back in the early 70s, obviously, David Bowie with Changes. But from there, I could roll off and do some other tune having to do with Changes or something like that, too, if I felt like it. Okay, the time, 12:01. Oh, sure, I've got time. And so basically, I could just cycle it up to yes. Yes, I could. The song from their album 90125, Changes.
and try to find out. There's no way to save it now. And everything I feel changes. Keep looking for changes. Changes.
Now I'm going to do In Honor of a Lonely Heart. Just kidding. I'm not going to, but I have before. That's a great tune. Now I'm going to switch it up to the heartbeat of the Tri-County for Lunchtime with the Oldies. Now, would they do that changes with Yes? No, folks. That tune is absolutely 80s. Again, Lunchtime with the Oldies. That's 50s, 60s, and 70s. Here we go.
Who do you think you are? You're never gonna get my love. Now I know, girl, I've seen you. I know you broke your heart for after loving up bit by bit. You made them cry. Many poor girls cry. When they try to keep you happy, they just try to keep you satisfied. The sister, tell me, who do you think you are? go square. You can't find a partner, use a wooden chair. Let rock. Everybody let rock. Everybody in the whole cell block will dance to the jail rock. Ship to Henry said the folks, for heaven's sake. No one's looking out a chance to make a break. But to turn the ship to Eddie said it makes nicks. I wanna stick around, I wanna get my kick and rock. Everybody let's rock. Everybody in the hotel rock. We're dancing to the jail rock. Dancing to the jail rock. Dancing to the jail rock. Dancing to the jail rock.
WCDO, lunchtime with the oldies. That's Elvis. Hello, good afternoon. I'm Craig Stevens, and it is time to enjoy the 50s, 60s, and 70s for the next hour. Jim Croce is coming up. I've got a great one from the Crystals. Classic rock from Deep Purple on the way. The Beach Boys are in there. Dion and more. Our Lunchtime with the Oldies program brought to you by Corbin Curley and certified financial planner Ed Curley with Wells Fargo Advisors, Route 7 Oneonta. When it comes to saving for your future, like retirement and kids' college expenses, give them a call. They will give you a free review of your finances. The number to call is 433-0333. That's 433-0333. When I come back, more great memories. And don't forget at 12:30, Lunchtime with the Oldies Anniversary Waltz. If you or someone you know is celebrating an anniversary this week or weekend, you call it in. And you can call it in now, 563-3588. I'll be right back.
This Father's Day weekend, make a stop at
All right, Craig Stevens with the great tunes. You know, I hope I'll still be here when they do the Jim Croce number. I do a lot of Jim Croce on the program, and so yeah, I mean, whether it's Bad Leroy Brown or Operator or what have you, I would look forward to seeing what song they choose at the Heartbeat of the Tri-County. Now, in terms of the Elvis, folks, don't forget the Elvis movie is out now, available for viewing. I think it's available for streaming online. I don't know the name of the guy who plays Elvis. I do know that Tom Hanks plays his manager, Colonel Tom Parker. And so, yeah, I haven't seen it. I'm looking forward to actually watching it and talking about it a great deal eventually on the program, just like I talk about other Tom Hanks films on the program. Absolutely. So I'll be right back in just a moment. You're listening to The Morning Show. Well, while we're waiting for Craig Stevens to play another song, a news story has just popped up here on my phone, and in the world of politics, Herschel Walker reveals for the first time that he has a second son. Now, Mr. Walker, as you know, running for the Senate down there in the state of Georgia. You're probably aware in the 2020 election, both of those seats were taken by Democrats, having to do with, really Trump's to blame for that. But now Mr. Walker is running, and he's been running on many, many different platform points, but one of them having to do with parenthood and the importance of raising your children, supporting your children, loving your children, only to find out for the first time today that he has a second son who apparently back in 2014, that boy's mother had to take Herschel Walker to court to get child support payments paid, even though apparently Herschel Walker's campaign manager, he says, this guy's name is Scott Paradise. He said, Herschel had a child years ago when he wasn't married. He supported the child and continues to do so. He's proud of his children. To suggest that Herschel is hiding the child because he hasn't used him in his political campaign is offensive and absurd. Now, here again, it isn't a matter of using the child in his campaign ads. The fact of the matter is, Mr. Walker has never mentioned him, mentioned the other kid plenty of times, never mentioned this one. It's obviously been a secret, and that's called spin to the nth degree by Scott Paradise. Of course he's going to say that. What else can he say, despite the fact that in order for that child to get the child support payments that he needed in 2014, the boy's mom had to take Walker to court to get that money. So yeah, he sent cards and stuff though. I mean, come on, this is basically Herschel Walker, a guy who's been he's been disingenuous. He made this previous point about his graduation from University of Georgia, never graduated at all. Yes, he played football, obviously, there for the Bulldogs. That's his claim to fame. He's an NFL running back. But for goodness sakes, the guy says he's a graduate of college, and it turns out not to be true. Now, many candidates would have already been wiped away with these things that are coming to light about Herschel Walker, just out of the blue, in the middle of the campaign. Now, it turns out that his competitor, also, in fact, his name is Reverend Warnock. It says here that he has also had some stuff in his family life and stuff like that. Another child, and, well, I'm trying to find that. I absolutely am in the body of this story here by, who was this story by? Oh, USA Today. That's fine, a fine publication. Anyway, it turns out that Senator Warnock, I'm trying to find this thing about his kid, in all fairness to Herschel Walker and stuff like that. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. No, I'm not seeing it here. I'll find it eventually, though. Walker faces Democrat Senator Raphael Warnock in November in a critical battleground state that could be key to determining party control. That's right. Whether it's Republicans and Democrats, it has to be one of the other, right? In this country, you can only have two parties. Please. Now, Warnock helped flip the Senate to the Democrats after he and fellow Georgia Democrat Jon Ossoff won a pair of runoff elections in early 2021. I certainly covered those at the time of those runoffs. Absolutely. So, it says here that Walker drew attention for his past mental health struggles as well as allegations that he threatened his ex-wife's life. He's dramatically inflated his record as a businessman and overstated his role in a for-profit program that is alleged to have preyed on veterans while defrauding the government. Again, I am a veteran, so I would take offense if it be true. You understand these allegations against Herschel Walker and his claim that he graduated at the top of his class from the University of Georgia. Now, that's taking it to the nth degree. Not only lying about the fact that you graduated, but then having the utter audacity to say that you graduated at the top of your class. Yeah, so I thought I'd bring it out. Now, what are they playing here at the heartbeat of the Tri-County?
That's the 5 stair steps and Ooh Ooh Child. The name of that one, Lunchtime with the Oldies, WCDO. You've got us at FM 101, AM 1490, and in Norwich at 92.3 FM. Here's Jim Croce.
Here we
You don't
go.
mess around with Jim.
Uptown got its hustlers, Bowery got its bums. 42nd Street got Big Jim Walker, he a bull shooting son of a gun. Yeah, he's big and dumb as a man can come, but he's stronger than a country horse. And when the bad folks all get together at night, you know they all call Big Jim Ball just because. And they say you don't tug on Superman's cape, you don't spit into the wind, you don't poke a mask on the old Lone Ranger, and you don't mess around with Jim. I don't do that. Well, out of South Alabama come a country boy, said I'm looking for a man named Jim. I am a bull shooting boy, my name is Willie McCoy, but down home they call me
off the old vinyl.
Yeah, they're testing out. Now, folks, I didn't set that up. I have nothing to do with the playlist for Lunchtime with the Oldies. I didn't know if it was going to be a Leroy Brown or a Jim Walker, and that's so serendipitous that it matches up with Herschel Walker's name. A complete coincidence. Anyway, I got to get back to my job. I'll be back with those stories I mentioned earlier after work. All right, continuing the program after work. In the background, Don Henley with Dirty Laundry. And, the protagonist of the song, an anchor man, I guess, you know. There you have it. Now, from BringMeTheNews.com, the story about the MyPillow guy. Now, I must say, it's traditional to have Phil Collins with the great Beatle cover, Golden Slumbers. This one's going to be a real snoozer, I promise. It's going to put you right to sleep. And so we're going to bring out Phil with, again, Golden. And no disrespect. You guys know of my love for Don Henley and his tunes. Absolutely. But again, it has to be Golden Slumbers. And that's where I'm going to go. So, as it turns out, the MyPillow guy's product, which I guess are pillows, right? Or toppers or something like that. Pillow. That's why he's the pillow guy, right? Because he sells pillows no longer available in Walmart, effective today. Now, why? I don't know. I can tell you that Bed Bath & Beyond, Costco, and, of course, Kohl's no longer carry the man's pillows. And that's a long time ago and a long story to boot. Now, the MyPillow guy, he said it was because those companies, the management of those companies were fearful, I guess, of him or something like that, or whatever. You know, he said they were fearful and they were scared people, when actually it's the other way around. The MyPillow guy is the guy that, as I've reported before, at least unless he's changed in some way, maybe he's back on his meds. He was fearful, not going home. I don't know where the man lives. Last time I recall, it was somewhere in the fine state of Minnesota, but I don't know. And yeah, he was thinking people were looking to do him harm. That's false. I go after the guy. It's in a rhetorical fashion on this show for the strange things that he said. Of course, being sued by a couple of fine voting machine companies, Dominion and Smartmatic. Each of them may be approximately $1.3 billion for defamation. You know, the guy has no proof that those voting machines did anything other than what they were designed to do, which was to tally votes, you know. It's a great thing. These people have gone after the voting companies. They say some people in Italy got into them. Some people in China got into them. Somebody got into them to prevent, the MyPillow guy's hero. Yes, he is his young apprentice. The MyPillow guy's hero, Trump, from winning again. And folks, that's what they've come to call the big lie. I'm just going to keep going. I can go on and on. This one says Walmart is dropping the MyPillow products. I love that when I get the MyPillow products. Let's just face it, they're pillows, you know, and they're overpriced to boot, you know, absolutely. I've done this thing. I've went through as a roving reporter through Kohl's in Vestal, New York, and I pointed out when they were pulled. And when the stories were about Kohl's, folks, again, they decided not to carry the man's pillows because they were underperforming sales-wise, having nothing to do with how well they work when you put your head on them at night or anything like that. If you have one, I don't. I'm very clear about that. Now why? Why is his pillows getting pulled? On a Wednesday Facebook Live, the MyPillow guy said he's had recent meetings with top Walmart officers who informed him the big box store is taking his products off the shelves. The MyPillow guy claims that the move came despite high sales numbers and offers by him to allow Walmart to sell his products at a lower price. Yeah, when I priced them, full retail value was $80. You know, now granted, Kohl's, I mean, once you use your Kohl's discount and maybe you have some Kohl's cash, whatever, the price would come down. But still, for a pillow, anywhere as near that amount is a complete outrage in my view. And then he proceeded to call the officers he'd spoken with liars multiple times. Now, the man has a history of this. If I tell you that he previously called the management of Kohl's, Bed Bath & Beyond, and Costco liars, would you believe me? Or would I have to do a time travel back to that day that I read the story about the MyPillow guy? Why does he go around calling these retailers liars? Now he's jumping onto Walmart, because that's how he rolls. He rolls just like his hero, in disparaging tones, unkind, mean, you might say, just like Trump does, and continues to do. So he wants to call these people liars. The people of Walmart are not liars. Absolutely. He says, I said you guys are canceling us just like the other box stores. I mean, look at the whininess of this guy. It's all basically a setup with the MyPillow guy. He's basically a carnival barker. You go onto his website, you get your promo code, he'll do your song and dance, and then you get on the telephone and buy a pillow from the MyPillow guy. People out there on the far right, I guess, are supposed to feel real sorry for the MyPillow guy. Maybe sorry to the extent they pop online and buy some pillows from his online site. That's basically what Mike Lindell. Aha, boo-poo, boo-hoo. People feeling sorry for the MyPillow guy. And all of that, that's not even what the story is about tonight. The fact that Walmart dropped his pillows. That has nothing to do with the main story about the MyPillow guy, which is basically what we're going to have to, we're going to have to crank this back, though. Now, we don't want too much of that, because remember, even though it's Phil doing it. Now, why was Phil doing it? He was asked to do it by the late, great George Martin, famed producer of the Beatles. They were making a covers album. That's right. And Sir George Martin called Phil on the phone and said, Phil, would you be willing to help us out and do Golden Slumbers Carry That Weight in the End? And Phil said, absolutely, I'll come right down. And that's the fact. You can find that one on YouTube. All right, so I got it. This one, well, it basically has to do with the fact that he wasn't invited to the party. It kind of reminds me of that story I had about him when the people at CPAC, the conservative group getting together for their annual meeting, and the Mike Lindell, he was not wanted there, and apparently the same is true of the select committee. They don't want to talk to the man. So let me guess, before I even read this, and again, I have not read it in advance. I'm going to read it now for the first time, written by Cheryl Tay. I've had a number of Cheryl's stories from Insider.com, and they're fantastic stories. But I can tell even without reading it what it's going to be. More whine from the MyPillow guys about how he wasn't allowed to testify before a national televised audience. That's what the guy wants. It's all about publicity for him, and the selling of his pillows. Which are obviously all going to be done now via his website, since there are no big box stores, so far as I know, that will carry the man's product. Now, Cheryl provides some dot points. I won't need those because I'm going to read the entire article. MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell says that he tried to get a spot to testify before the January the 6th Select Committee and show them his, quote, evidence, end quote, to prove that former President Trump's baseless claims of voter fraud, but they did not want to talk to him. The MyPillow guy made this statement during an appearance on Steve Bannon's podcast, War Room Pandemic. That's right, extreme right-winger Steve Bannon and his podcast, War Room. I've had a lot of stories about them. Another extremist on the far right who got a get-out-of-jail-free card from Trump. That's basically what it amounts to. And, of course, another one of the purveyors of the big lie out on his podcast and stuff like that. Recently coming out with some very heated words regarding the Select Committee and so forth, but what else is new? Anyway, Steve Bannon asked the MyPillow guy if the committee had reached out to him to go through all the voluminous material that he has about the 2020 election. Now, this guy's closet could be full of, notebooks and paper and everything. Volume doesn't mean quality. The guy's basically got a bunch of junk information. It's been looked at in over 60 lawsuits and battleground states all across this fine land, and none of them have panned out. In fact, in more cases than not, for example, the MyPillow guy's attorneys they're going to be held financially responsible by the judge in that case. I'm not going to go back and read the case where it was indeed Mike Lindell and his attorneys going to have to pay up for wasting the court's time. And so, him being asked that by Steve Bannon about have they reached out to him, he said, no, they haven't, and that's sad, too, because I'd love to come to your committee as long as you nationally televise it, Ms. Pelosi. The MyPillow guy said nationally. The guy, basically, it's all about his pillow sales, and this is not what this is about. This is about really the undermining of our democracy by Trump. It's not about the man's pillows, but he continues to make it about him. It's all got to be about the MyPillow guy, the guy with the poor prognostications. His predictions that Trump would be reinstalled into the Oval Office are completely false and groundless, and they're not happening. The guy's got a serious issue, the MyPillow guy. Now, then Bannon asked him if former Attorney General Bill Barr ever reached out to him to talk about the high-profile evidence, so-called evidence, that the MyPillow guy claimed to have. Yes, Bill Barr, the guy who said bullshit in terms of what Trump's claims are, the fact that he did not win the 2020 election. So did he reach out to Bill Barr? I would just love to see this conversation. I don't really imagine Bill Barr as a guy that tolerates fools very well. And so if the MyPillow guy walked into Bill Barr's office and started to lay this stuff on him, I don't think he'd be in there very long before he'd be booted out the office. And now, so the MyPillow guy said, no, he's actually avoided me, Steve. I mean, I put out stuff. I tried to get stuff to him in the past, and it's a complete block, just as I predicted. You know, Bill Barr's not going to put up with this kind of nonsense from a guy that's clearly deranged. I could bring out, I've done dozens of stories on them. I'm just going to admit it. Yes, I've done dozens of stories, and why is that? Because the guy keeps putting himself out there in the media, and every time he does, and if it's a foolish thing, like, for example, the fact that he got himself kicked out of Walmart, or the fact, indeed, that he's made up a number of other stories, and now he's whining because the Select Committee doesn't want to talk to him, Bill Barr doesn't want to talk to him. You know, it's really too bad in my view. I mean, Phil, continue. Thank you. I don't want to have too much of the song beyond it because it is actually a Beatles song. And I don't want my video to be blocked down if I do a video. I haven't decided yet. Now, on Tuesday night, Mike Lindell told Insider.com that he would love to speak before that corrupt, lying panel. So here he comes. They're going to want to speak to a guy who disparages the Select Committee that's doing yeoman service for the American people. He wants to call that panel corrupt. He wants to call those people on the panel liars. Why should they want to speak to the MyPillow guy? Do you see what I'm saying? Why would anyone want to speak to the If this guy called me a liar and corrupt, I wouldn't have the time of day for the MyPillow guy. And the same holds for the Select Committee and other people as well. And now he says, I would give them all the evidence of the biggest crime in history. Folks, that's nonsense. Again, super hyperbole to the nth degree for the MyPillow guy. That's what he's all about. He's got no evidence. He's got no lawsuit. He said the Supreme Court would rule and they would vote 9-0 to reinstall Trump into the Oval, or if you prefer, reinstate Trump again. That's never going to happen. A 9-0 vote from the Supreme Court on anything, much less this thing with no evidence, that's not going to happen regardless of even how right-wing the justice is, whether it's, Clarence Thomas and now his wife, Ginny, Clarence Thomas. Well, she's contacting people in Arizona trying to overthrow the election. She has a right to do that. She's an American citizen, but it must be a big embarrassment for her husband, Associate Justice Clarence Thomas, when she's in the middle of doing this, and they might possibly be seeing cases, maybe, in regards to the 2020 election. And it doesn't look good. What's the word? The optics are poor if any Associate Justice, their spouse, is out there working for Trump, basically, on fake stories. Now, as for Bill Barr, the former Attorney General, Mike Lindell said he does not have a way to reach him directly. People have told him of the evidence, and he chooses to be a traitor to the USA. That's another thing is people do. They'll go out and call people traitors. Very simple for them. To them, I mean, that's just normal speech for someone like a Mike Lindell, or indeed an L. Lynn Wood, extreme right-wing conspiracy attorney that I had this story on the program yesterday about. I'm not going back to yesterday. We could talk about these people. We could talk. No, we absolutely could. We could talk about Sidney, blow up Georgia, Powell. Absolutely. We could talk about Sidney Powell, another extremist on the far right, who is being held financially accountable for her false claims in court by the judges in those cases that she's been involved in. Yeah, she's the one that said she was going to blow up Georgia. Absolutely. She was going to release the Kraken on the Georgian people. and another wacky person. And so apparently the MyPillow guy is calling Bill Barr a traitor, I'd like to see him do that to his face. He might get punched right in the nose, the MyPillow guy. You're going to call someone a traitor to their face? He wouldn't. He doesn't have the courage to do that. He'd call him a traitor to who? To Steve Bannon on Steve Bannon's podcast. Bill Barr wasn't anywhere near it. Anyway, in April, the MyPillow guy told Insider.com that he would be willing to speak if subpoenaed, as long as his testimony was, you guessed it, televised. That's the guy wants his face on TV. Maybe he can work in some stories about his pillows before the select committee would shut him down again. They're not going to speak to him. It's a good move in my view. Now, Lindell's phone records were subpoenaed by the House Select Committee in January, after which he sued the committee and Verizon to block their release. Again, however, unlike fellow Trump allies such as wacky Rudy Giuliani, Mike Lindell has not been called upon to testify before the panel. Yeah, now, yesterday, Morning Joe was trying to explain it, and from what the Select Committee has said, there was a team normal. Now, why isn't the entire team normal? If you have people that are in the executive branch of government working for the President of the United States, why is it now subdivided into people that are normal, so-called team normal, and then what I've come to call the other, or team wacky, led up by Rudy Giuliani? This is a very strange administration, and that might explain why the American people voted him out of office. It's a very strange thing indeed. Now, since November of 2020, Mike Lindell has aggressively pushed Trump's big lie, baseless claims of voter fraud. Most recently, he announced that he would be holding a world premiere in July for his new movie called Selection Code. Now I find myself giving a promo for the MyPillow guy's new movie. He has a movie out? What kind of movie? Anyway, I'm not that interested. Anyway, he claims this movie, that's what's going to prove beyond all reasonable doubt Trump's baseless claims of widespread voter fraud. In May, last month, the MyPillow guy told Insider.com he was spending at least $1 million a month on his social media empire with the aim of pushing conspiracy theories about the 2020 election. So, an entire social media empire designed and built by the MyPillow guy with the aim of pushing conspiracy theories. I don't think that's very helpful. Now, he's the guy that promised that he would build a social media platform that would rival Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Folks, that was Frank, and Frank failed to launch, I'm afraid to tell you. Yeah, his whole Frank speech. Now, he may have a website called Frank Speech, but that's not the same as what he promised. He had so-called VIPs popping onto it and complaining when he tried to launch it, and the entire thing fried. That's right, it wouldn't work at all. And they were complaining, I've been on 4 hours now waiting to get on. I can't get on to Mike's website or his platform. Again, a complete failure. He thought he could just plop a bunch of money down, and have a couple of guys put something together. I don't know. I don't have the experience, but I'm sure if you check with Facebook and Twitter and those platforms, they'll explain this is a very complex thing. They can't just buy it and know nothing about it whatsoever. Now, the MyPillow guy who has been bankrolling a nationwide effort to stop the use of electronic voting machines, that's something else they blamed. And I've talked about it. To me, it's a funny thing. The Smartmatic machine, a fine machine. The Dominion machine, I pointed out the fact, the name probably not the best. It reminds me of Deep Space Nine and one of the evil alien civilizations, the Dominion, the founders. And so to them, it just sets them up to portray those voting companies as evildoers. It's the Dominion, it's the machines, it's the machines. Folks, get a grip. We've been using electronic voting machines of this company, I guess, since electricity's been around, or sometime in the early 20th century. I don't know the date. And it's never, ever created an issue like it has for some on the extreme right, because it's a very handy tool for them to invent new conspiracy theories. That's all it's about. Now, Cheryl says, so far these efforts to prove Trump's groundless voter fraud claims have cost Mike Lindell around $25 million. And if that's how he chooses to spend his money, that's fine and dandy as far as I'm concerned. And that is our MyPillow guy story of the night. And we haven't heard the last from this guy, the My Pillow guy. Believe me on that. And that's fine as far as I'm concerned. I'll be right back. You're listening to The Morning Show. The great song by John Lennon, number one hit song from back in the 70s. Whatever gets you through the night, it's all right. Of course, there is the great Elton John tie-in with that. When Elton John walked into the studio, John Lennon was working on the song, and Elton John said, "You mind if I put some piano on that?" And John Lennon said, "Absolutely, feel free." And Elton John, I mean, he really did put some piano on it. And he made a bet with John Lennon saying, this is going to be a number one song, and if I'm right, and it is, you and I will perform in Madison Square Garden. That's the last time we saw John Lennon performing live in concert there, or anywhere, so far as I know. But yeah, I thought I'd use this instead of a Beatle hit in the background because I already know this one's safe, because I had it on the program the other day with a huge story about just this song itself, and it didn't get blocked, so I know it's good. The throwaway Beatles song meant to confuse everybody, written by Tyler Golson for Far Out magazine, and Tyler does a great job. I've read a number of his stories. John Lennon had a habit of throwing people off his true intentions that mostly came in undermining his own material, shrugging off interpretations and simply insisting that he didn't take a good amount of his work with the Beatles seriously. When listeners began looking for clues in his songs, they did for I Am the Walrus. Lennon himself began to get in on the game by writing an even more confusing follow-up, a song called Glass Onion, featuring a number of allusions to previous Beatles tunes, including Strawberry Fields Forever, Fixing a Hole, Lady Madonna, and The Fool on the Hill. Glass Onion was the meta song to end all meta songs within the Beatles catalog. One notable line gave a contradictory analysis of I Am the Walrus, with Lennon insisting that the walrus was, in fact, Paul. That's right, folks. But Paul was the walrus. You guys know they did stuff like that, right? When they said, like, Paul is dead and stuff like that in the songs and stuff. They're messing around. Anyway, John Lennon says, "That's me just doing a throwaway song a la Walrus, a la everything I've ever written. I threw the line in, the walrus was Paul, just to confuse everybody a bit more, and I thought, walrus has now become me, meaning I am the one, only I didn't mean that in this song. It could have been the fox terrier is Paul, I mean, it's just a bit of poetry. It was just thrown in like that." That's right, the fox terrier is Paul, a dog. I kid the great Paul McCartney. I absolutely do. That was John Lennon's. It could have been that. It could have been anything. That's what he told David Sheff in 1980. The interview, not to be confused with Will Sheff, the guy that went after Don Henley and the Eagles in the story, The Case Against the Eagles, by TheRinger.com this past year when I defended the Eagles to the best of my ability. Now I can't even put on one of their tunes when I do that anymore. Anyway, it doesn't really matter anymore. Journey, this song gets through fine. Wheel in the Sky from their album Infinity. Yeah, and I've had a great story about that, either the last week or the week before the Journey song. Anyway, throwaway references aside, John Lennon also insisted that the identity confusion was meant to be an oblique reference to his own planned departure from the band. "Well, that was a joke. The line was put in partly because I was feeling guilty because I was with Yoko and I was leaving Paul. I was trying, I don't know. It's a very perverse way of saying to Paul, here, have this crumb, this illusion, this stroke, because I'm leaving." John Lennon's lyrics became a fascination for fans, especially after the Beatles broke up in 1970. The band's press officer, Derek Taylor, believed that John Lennon was trying to say something meaningful at all times, even when the songs were as silly as Glass Onion. "You'd be in park sitting around your table wondering what was going on with the flowers, and then you'd realize that they were actually tulips with their petals bent all the way back so that you could see the obverse side of the petals and also the stamen," Mr. Taylor explained, going on to explain. "This is what John meant about seeing how the other half lives. He meant seeing how the other half of the flower lives, but also because it was an expensive restaurant, how the other half of society lived." Anyway, check out Glass Onion down below. You guys, those of you listening to my show, go into YouTube and find Glass Onion. I am unable, well, I'm not unable, I'm unwilling to play it here because, again, it might get flagged by the YouTube Content ID software machine. And I'll be right back with the next story or a song, as the case may be. All right, now this is a great thing. You can hear the great drumming of Phil Collins from the song I Don't Care Anymore. Now, again, I've had this story on the program about I Don't Care Anymore. Phil is a great guy, and he cares about a great many things. This was back in the day. He was going through a relationship problem. Haven't we all been there? And he wrote this great, huge hit song, I Don't Care Anymore, for his second solo studio album. Now, this next thing, well, Phil says the iconic drummer that underrated, whoever this person is, we'll find out in this story written by Jordan Potter. Once again, I go to Far Out Magazine for the great story. Names in the drumming world don't get much more iconic than Phil Collins. The Genesis drummer took on the rare and difficult feat of simultaneously singing and beat keeping, and for many years after his time with Peter Gabriel and the band continued to prove himself as a competent force in the realm of songwriting. Sadly, Phil has been battling chronic health issues over the past 2 decades. Most critically, he has sustained considerable nerve damage in his hands, leaving him unable to play the drums properly. Consequently, Phil announced a Genesis reunion tour date at the O2 in London in March of 2022 as their very last one. Now, folks, Phil can always change his mind. He can always wave it off. That's right. Mike Rutherford and Tony Banks have both indicated that they're open to the idea of another tour. I talked a lot about the last tour. The Last Domino certainly did. Had a couple of great reviews. Places like Chicago, places like Washington, D.C. Now, a lot of people made a big issue. Phil was singing in a chair. Phil doesn't need to stand up and run around the stage, folks. You just put Phil in a chair, you give him a microphone, and out of his mouth comes pure genius. All the great Genesis songs that they did, fantastic job so far as all the reviews I've ever read. So there have been a lot of naysayers, people coming after Phil down through the year. I could take you all the way back to the 80s of people coming after Phil, and they have done so in this current century. And so, yeah, I'm continuing to defend Phil with all my power. Now, the former drummer, actually, I don't know you call him the former drummer, I would just call him a fantastic drummer, sang the farewell concert from a seat in the center of the stage. Despite looking, or they're characterizing the man as looking frail. I really didn't see that in the pictures that I saw, but that's the way the author says. He's looking frail and somewhat incomplete without a drum kit in front of him. Phil put on a passionate and memorable performance. Just like I said, the man's brilliant, with the vocals, with all these songs. Phil knows all these songs, whether it's from his solo career or from Genesis. He knows these songs, and he doesn't need to be running around the stage. So anyway, now, for those of you that don't know, Phil's son, Nick, is an excellent drummer. That's why the band allowed him. They would have never allowed him to go on a North American tour with Genesis if he wasn't an excellent drummer. And I'm sure that Phil helped train him. Probably there were other, instructors as well. But his son Nick's an excellent drummer, and Phil sang the songs. It's as simple as that. Now, although Phil's drumming days are perhaps behind him, he has left a booming legacy filled with timeless compositions. Whether it's his Oscar-winning soundtrack for Disney's Tarzan or the iconic drumline In the Air Tonight, Phil will always be a trusted authority as both a songwriter and a drummer. The members of Genesis have long cited the later work of the Beatles as a prime influence on their sound, especially the group's seminal 1967 album, the Beatles album, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. The early psychedelic classic is often cited as the early source of the prog rock genre. In a 1992 episode of the South Bank Show titled The Making of Sgt. Pepper, Phil featured as a keen admirer of the Fab Four to comment on the enduring influence of the landmark album. During the episode, Phil took the opportunity to set the record straight on Ringo Starr's drumming ability. Those of you might know that over the years, some people have been, somewhat derogatory about Ringo's drumming ability, unfairly so, I believe. Ringo Starr's an excellent drummer. Otherwise, he never would have replaced Pete Best with the Beatles. If Ringo wasn't an excellent drummer, how did he replace Pete Best with the Beatles, right? That's right. Now, over the past few decades, Ringo has been unfairly dismissed as your everyday drummer who was just lucky enough to fall in with the other three. In fact, some trace this inaccurate assessment back to an alleged John Lennon quote to the 1970s, in which it was alleged that Mr. Lennon said, Ringo wasn't the best drummer in the world. Let's face it, he wasn't even the best drummer in the Beatles. Now that, folks, that was a statement that was alleged to have come from the mouth of John Lennon, but did he actually say it? You got to do a little digging. You got to do your own research, or maybe the story will tell us if he actually said it, And if he did actually say it, if Ringo wasn't the best drummer in the Beatles, then who was? John Lennon? No, he was referring to Paul McCartney, who on some of the songs of the Beatles did his own drum work. This is widely known information. Now, even if John Lennon actually said these words, it would have been just another example of the late Beatles' caustic wit. Yeah, he's a funny guy. Now, alas, it has been more recently debunked. There you go. It's been debunked as an original quote. Never said it. With some saying that its origin instead lay in a Jasper Carrot gag from 1983. I'm not familiar with the comedian, but apparently it was part of his show, this thing. Now, in the 1992 episode of the South Bank Show, Phil endorsed Ringo's ability as a drummer, saying, "Well, I think he's vastly underrated, Ringo. The drum fills and A Day in the Life were in fact very, very complex things. You could take a great drummer from today and say, I want it like that, and they wouldn't know what to do." Now watch Phil and Ringo perform alongside Elton, Jeff Lynne, George Harrison, Eric Clapton, Mark King, and Jools Holland at the Prince's Trust Rock Gala in 1987 below. And then it says there, "While My Guitar Gently Weeps," a song that I had on the program before. And yes, I had a story about it also, in which it was ranked the number one song on the White Album. Great song, penned by George Harrison. Folks, don't forget, All Things Must Pass, the special 50th anniversary box set edition put together by George Harrison's son, Donnie, is available now for purchase online. And so now I'm going to bust into something. They mentioned that Phil mentioned about Ringo, or if there were a drummer today that were going to do the drum work on that song that Phil mentioned, A Day in the Life, and you said to him, just do it that way. Well, I would dare say if you had someone listen to this thing and said, just do it this way, it would be hard. But yeah, I want it that way. Now, oftentimes I do that one by the Backstreet Boys, the song, I Want It That Way. Sometimes I do eBay with Weird Al Yankovic. It doesn't really matter. I mean, one way or the other, it's going to be that melody.
From the way that it used to be, yeah. No matter the distance, I want you to know that deep down inside of me, you are my fire, the one desire. You are
All right, the Backstreet Boys with the huge hit. Now, whoa, Back Down, Beatles. It comes alphabetically. I want it that way. I want to hold your hand. That's unacceptable. I've already explained why. Now I'm going to do the coin flip thing for the next number. The next number is either going to be It's a Mistake, Heads, by Men at Work, or Tails. We're going to have a great song by Genesis, Phil singing lead on it, called Tell Me Why. And so let's do the coin flip. Here it is. And it's Tails. That means it is Tell Me Why. This great song. Well, I enjoy it. And, it's, I'm frantically, typing it in from their album We Can't Dance. Yeah. It's a serious song, with a serious message. And it asks for some answers, that we still haven't received.
Crying in the street, children dying at their feet. Tell me why. Tell me why. People starving everywhere. There's too much food, but there's none to spare. Tell me why. Oh, tell me why. Can you see that shaft of sunlight? Can you see it in my eyes? I can feel the fire that's burning. I know it won't so deep in my heart. But before my eyes, the sun is too late. It seems there's no one listening, even sleeping in the streets. No roof above, no roof to weep. Tell me why. Tell me why. See the questions in their eyes. Listen to their children's cries. Tell me why. Please tell me why. Is there a God? Is He watching? Can He give away our heart? So much pain, so much sorrow. Tell me what does He see when He looks at you? When He looks at me, what will He say?
So it's a very serious song. They cry because they're hungry, in some cases starving for food, some cases they don't have shelter. Now, I always tell this story. I did back 1989. Phil released an album called But Seriously. It included a song, Another Day in Paradise, and the British press went after the song. Critical of the song. How can a rich guy like Phil Collins write a song like that? They characterized it as a protest song. It's a fantastic song about a serious subject. That's why Phil called the album But Seriously. And the same holds for Phil's song Colors, which I forgot to spell with the British spelling of the word, so I just changed it. I was about to do a True Colors by Phil, but instead, Colors. And this will end the show. I'm just going to fade it out to complete nothingness when I'm done with this. So thank you very much for listening to the morning show today, and I hope you join me tomorrow on the morning show, which is, Friday, TGIF. Phil.
say you're good back. See the pictures everywhere. All we don't see is what's going on behind the closed doors. You don't seem to care. You expect me to believe you. How can you really dare? You take your horse down to the water, hold it under his head, make him dream. No matter what you say, it's any better. No matter what you do, won't he never see any change? People living without rights, without their dignity. But how long does one man have to show? His right to be free. You keep the toy soldiers, the segregate the black and white. When the dust settles, when the blood starts running, how do you sleep at night? No matter what you say, it's any better. No matter what you do, won't he never see any change? No matter what you say, it's any better. No matter what you do, won't he never see any change? What makes you so high and mighty? What makes you so qualified? You sit there and say how many have the freedom and how many more have died. You decide to sit in judgment, try to play God yourself. In the sun, the sun, the earth is gonna stop